James,
Hello.
Nobody can see you throwing up gang signs.
I'm not throwing gangs. I'm just throwing up the devil's horn.
That's a gang in itself, man.
That's right.
The devil's gang.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You know, for an atheist, you sure are pretty adamant about the devil, huh?
First off, I don't know if I've ever self-identified to you as an atheist.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Yes, you have. On the show, and it's recorded.
I mean, I don't remember that. I'm just saying, I literally don't remember saying that.
You strike me as more of an agnostic kind of
Well,
gentleman.
no, I mean, I'm pretty. Let's not. Nobody's listening to this for philosophical, theological.
But aren't they? I mean,
my love of.
Aren't they? I'm just saying, man. He was just representing with the. Either he was saying double devil, or he was saying he loves us twice as much. Exactly. One of the two. I don't want to. I'm going to take both. Or he loves the devil.
Well, I do apologize. If you want me to edit this out, I can. But that being said,
no, we won't. We're doing it live.
We are. Let's go in Commando. We're doing it live.
We're doing it live. I said doing it live.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, for that intro, this is Going Commando. I am indeed one of your hosts, Tank Rodriguez, and join me via Zoom, my esteemed colleagues and movie experts. You know them as Jimothy James Dean. How you doing, sir?
Sup.
Yeah, that's a good sup, man. I like that. And, of course, we got the dirtiest of the dirtiest, dirty Derek.
Yep, dirtiest of the D's. Hello.
Dirtiest of the D's.
You should wash it, man.
Hey, you know what?
Don't tell me pandemic.
Don't
Watch
tell me what to do. D. I put a face mask on it. That's all I'm saying when I go in public. I don't want to spread it, and I don't want to catch it. You know what I mean?
I feel you, brother.
That's right.
Before we go any further, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to share some good updating news for you. Many of you asked for it, and we finally delivered, meaning I finally was not lazy enough to actually be productive and do something. We are on social media now.
Finally.
Folks, and I'll say this at the beginning. But if you want to follow along and listen and tweet us on the Twitter or Instagram us, you can do it. Both Twitter and Instagram handles are at TankRodPod. That's TankRodPod. For Going Commando, you can use the hashtag TankRodPod or hashtag Going Commando. But yeah, be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, say hello. As you're listening, you can tweet us, and we will be sure to answer any questions.
Yeah.
I'm going to just go on record as saying,
ask questions.
We can do that too.
I'm just going to go on record as saying, as if I just found something called Tank Rod Pod, I wouldn't think it was this podcast.
Hey, you know what? Even if it's not, still Google it anyway.
I know exactly. In fact, it may get us more listeners. Yeah.
That's right. And while you're at it, can you please just check to see what the acronym is for the BBC if you're Googling things.
And speaking of which, you can also follow us on OnlyFans.
That's right. Yes. We also have some profiles on Farmers Only. I'm just.
Well, that being said, I'm excited to see where to communicate with our audience and see if we actually have an audience. But it should be interesting. But yeah, that was pretty much it as far as social media goes. And before we get into what we watched this past week, I do think that I'll give it to Derek about an exciting sequel that's about to happen. And I know Jimothy is excited about it to get his question answered that he's long wondered about. Go ahead, Derek.
We heard through the movie grapevine and from the great Sylvester Stallone himself, that Stallone, as they say in the French.
He's the second best of the Stallone brothers. He's no Frank Stallone, but
Well, nobody's Frank Stallone.
What's the other one?
That.
Frank Stallone. There we go.
I think he only has one brother, so
that's famous anyway. Yeah.
that's famous. Yes, maybe he will be in this movie too. One can hope. So. Maybe he will be the bad guy. Anywho, so there has been an announcement that they are in the works of making a Demolition Man 2, which, if anybody who's listening to this podcast knows, it's one of my favorite movies of all times. Now, Jimothy is very tired of hearing about the 3 seashells and how they work. I think it's very fascinating, and I would like to get more in-depth knowledge on how they work. So that's the one thing I'm hoping for the sequel as well, is give me some in-depth knowledge of the 3 seashells. Also, I don't know who other than Stallone who's going to be in it. Maybe they'll bring some new bad guys. Maybe, definitely I don't know what Dennis Leary's doing, but he should come back as Edgar Friendly. Sandy Bullock, let's get her in there too. Let's put some.
I do have a request though.
Some Halo.
Let's
sex headsets.
Yes, definitely. But I do have hope that they leave one guy out, and that's Rob Schneider. And I hope he's never in that movie.
Sorry. No, he has to be reserved for Judge Dredd Part 2. And hopefully in that Judge Dredd movie, it's a combination of crossover with Carl Urban's Judge Dredd, and Carl Urban just shoots him in the first 5 seconds.
That's the opening shot of the movie.
I do like
Dude, I got my wish with seeing Edward Furlong's shot in the first 5 minutes of the Terminator.
Of the Terminator movie?
I mean, it's crazier things can happen.
I was like, it's funny because I watched that movie and I was like, this is not going to be good. And then they got to that scene. I'm like, well, all right, well, let's pick it up now. Yeah, so that's great. I saw a picture of him at some Comic-Con, and it was terrible. It was just terrible.
Furlong? Or
yeah,
he's a fucking.
Oh yeah, I mean, Rob Schneider looks way better than Edward Furlong.
I know. Yeah, nobody looks worse than Edward Furlong.
Oh my God, the poor guy. Like, please, there was a New Year's Eve picture too of him hanging out with like Ron Jeremy, like New Year's.
That's what I told you guys about that.
Yeah,
yes.
I found that picture online.
James showed us. James showed us that picture.
I really had a hard time figuring which one was Ron Jeremy and which one was.
God, it's so depressing.
It is. It's my whole youth, man. Like.
One of those guys still gets laid.
That's right.
That's a sad thing.
No, I mean, there's somebody out there that's got like a massive heart on for John Connor, and that's probably where, or is a big fan of Pet Sematary 2. And
it's
that's
Ron
like
there's somebody out there who just needs that cheap ass black tar heroin that fucking they just want a little hit, baby. They'll suck Don Connor's dick for just a little hit.
That's T6. The T6 Tar 100.
The D6. The D6000.
Hey, but anyways, yes. Very excited about that, though. Very good news.
Yeah, but going back to Denver, and of course it's the obvious. Like, do you mention the 3 seashells? Do you explain it, or do you leave that as one of those urban legends for movies?
No, they may mention it. I don't think they'll make reference to it.
I would say if you're a fan of that movie, that's the first thing that's coming to your mind is like, how do they use the goddamn 3 C? Did they go back to 2-ply? That's what I want to know. Maybe in the future that they in the world of Edgar Friendly, they went back to 2-ply burgers and are eating rat burgers now. I just want to know if Taco Bell is still going to be relevant. That's what I want to know. Was it replaced? Is there another chain of restaurants available? Is it like Pizza Hut World now? I don't know. Benjamin Bratt. I want to see him come back, but he was like kind of getting all decked out at the end of that last movie. So I want to see him full blown like Cholo in that movie, like greetings and salutations. He's just singing the Oscar Mayer Wiener song.
It's just interesting that like Stallone's almost like 80, and like he's still like racking this up. I mean,
Yep.
like it's gonna be a flop. That's the deal. Like,
don't even say that, man. Don't say that it's gonna be a flop, man.
Look at Final Blood.
What? Well, all right. So yes, like I do agree with that, but I'm hoping that like that is. So I think that like final Rambo movie was like a Stallone pushed and produced, but I think this is not.
The thing is, though, I
Stallone
don't
by
think the name Demolition Man has the cash that I think either he thinks it does, or it's not
It's a pretty
necessarily
popular movie.
To a degree, but not in the same way like a Rocky or Rambo had like a level of popularity. But I think sometimes because of that, they can do something more unique with it. But here's the one thing I will give Stallone. Ever since his quote-unquote comeback, a few years ago, these Expendables movies are fucking forgettable. But everything that's come out from the Rocky, family of movies, whether it was, Rocky Balboa and then Creed. Not necessarily Creed 2, but not that Creed 2 is a bad movie, but those were good movies. The two subsequent Rambo movies, I mean, the newest one, the last one, The Last Blood, is just like, I don't know, fucking alt-right the movie, but people liked it, and but he's trying to make actual, competent films and not just cash in on his name. But I don't know. We'll see. I hope for Derek's sake it's good.
You know what? It doesn't matter. I'm gonna like it. I'm gonna like it regardless, even if it is a flop. It doesn't matter. But all I do ask is that there is a great storyline in the comics that they continue, because there's a Demolition Man comic that takes place after after the events of the first one. And it involves his daughter, and I think that's I always kind of wonder about that, because they allude to it in the comic. He finds his daughter, and I think she is part of the Edgar friendly underground dwellers, and that's how they reconnect. So I just thought it was cool. But what I'm kind of thinking is is there going to be different factions? Maybe there's time travel. I don't know. I hope they do something cool with it, because it is futuristic, and it's actually. I think it's 2030 something. That is the official year of Demolition Man in the future. So, but I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out if the Cocteau way was better or the new regime was Bob. I'm
gonna tell you what though. I'm gonna be really butthurt if you get the sequel to your favorite Stallone movie, and I don't get a Cobra 2 or whatever Cobra TV series.
That's got to be coming along.
They've been talking about forever, but nothing so far. So
I guess what kind of irks me though. To a degree, I was actually watching this news thing the other day on YouTube, and it was all about Back to the Future, the next one, and just how set they're against them making certain movies. Even as fan demanded. They're just not going to do it. And I was like, you know what? If you're not doing it for the fans, then who are you doing it for? Yeah, you don't need to make money, but isn't the whole thing about giving the fans what they want? I think there could be a million stories on Back to the Future. I know that's not the premise of our show tonight, but I was really kind of pissed. Bob Gale was no, we're never going to do it. Never, ever, ever. Nobody wants to see Michael J. Fox with Parkinson's. But I was like, you know what? That would be a great storyline if Parkinson's was a side effect of constant time travel. And
the thing is, though, they're getting it to the point where, Christopher Lloyd doesn't have much longer. Michael J. Fox is, I just don't see. If they don't do it in the next 2 years, it's never going to happen.
So Tom Holland let it slip that they have talked to him about a reboot. I guess they're doing they are doing a musical. I don't know, but I was just thinking to myself, movies like that, movies like Cobra, were it's got a good fan base and people would want to see a continuation of that. Just fucking do it, man. I would watch a Cobra TV show all day.
The thing is, I would love a show, but the thing is, it's casting that lead character. Casting Marion Cobretti would be very difficult in capturing the tone, but I would much rather see a TV show than some shitty remake movie.
But what about John Barathol, who did The Punisher? He would be. I could see him in that Cobra type role.
Do you know
like,
who else?
maybe?
Yes, John Barenthal would be good. He's a great actor. You know what else I think would be really good is I'm blanking the actor's name, but he's in all of the. He's like in the Purge 2 and later.
Frank Grillo.
Crossbones. Frank Grillo. Thank you. His name was on the tip of my tongue. I think he'd be really fucking good too.
Yeah, he would be. He's kind of got the. I think he's got more of the stature of like the John Cobra, like because he's very like he's built, but he's kind of more thinner. He's a little.
And I mean, he's. I mean, if you watch those Purge movies, he definitely seems like a legit. He could be like a very believable badass.
Yeah, he plays a good like cop on the edge too. Like he's done a couple movies where he's been like that cop who kind of teeters on the line or the fringe. So yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think he would be. I think he would also be a good one as well.
What about, and I know it sounds hokey, but you know it's Cobra. What about The Rock?
I think that would be like a reboot. I think that would have to be like they rebooted it or something. He would be.
Yeah.
But he's too big.
Yeah, I mean, he's so big, and he's such a bigger. I mean, he has surprised me. He's a legitimately, he's a good actor. But I just don't see him right for the role. But never say never.
What about Rob Schneider?
Perfect.
I'd rather have
discussion.
I'd rather have Kevin Sorbo than Rob Schneider.
Jean-Claude Van Damme or Seagal.
Thank you for listening to Going Commando.
We're going off the rails. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we are. But hey,
going off the rails
and do y'all want to talk about what y'all are? Do y'all want to skip that and go to Aliens?
I'll talk about one thing I watched.
Okay, me too.
Just because. So I watched this documentary about Ghostbusters fans. And it had to be one of the most fucking annoying movies. And I love I have a weird soft spot for documentaries about pop culture documentaries, especially around fandoms, because there's a ton of really great documentaries like that. And they're not always going to win Oscars, but usually you can engage with the people they choose. And like I said, I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan, just like every person on earth should be. But the people they chose in this should never be on. First off, they should never be seen. They should fucking live in holes under the fucking under parking lots. But it was just like the most. It was the most
Please like and subscribe.
Exactly. But they had this thing had Sigourney Weaver was in this. Bill Murray, or not Bill Murray, no, Dan Aykroyd, Ivan Reitman. It had big names from the movie in the documentary, but all of the fans were just the worst people. Were they like the worst representation of fandom that you could have? Dude, they were on the annoying fringe of fandom. Yeah. And the thing is, but they tried to make them as the way they edited it was to make them seem really likable people with heartbreaking stories. No, the main guy they talked to, whose teeth were 6 different colors. The first time I thought he had eaten fried chicken and he had chicken skin on his teeth. I was like, what? Anyways, he's Asperger's to the max. He's super obnoxious and can't read social cues and the end of the movie is they have all these because they talk about there's one in San Antonio, I've seen them out, where they have the Ghostbusters Texas Ghostbusters and the New Jersey Ghostbusters. Well, so it's about that, all these different clubs and members of it. But at the end of it, they invite all these people to see the first trailer to the Ghostbusters remake, the Paul Feig one, and they'll go out and dude, I mean Ivan Reitman is there, Paul Feig is there, all these people, and that guy is being so obnoxious, and I'm just like, how did this movie get made? There's nobody else you could have talked to. But yeah, it was.
Do you think it was made by people that are equally annoying,
probably
in the fandom, and they think that that's appropriate, behavior? Because that's what I tend to find is in those documentaries, the people that are making it are just as obnoxious, probably, as the people that are in it.
Possibly, very possibly. I thought just my thing I took away from it was maybe the Ghostbusters fandom is so gross and pathetic, and
Like
that these are the best that you can find. But I hope not. I mean,
what's the name of it? What's the name of the documentary?
I do not remember. It's on Amazon Prime. That's all I know.
All right.
It's
I'll
Ghostbusters.
look for it on Prime.
Yeah.
That sucks, man, because I really love Ghostbusters, and actually that's the one very disappointing thing of like this whole pandemic was the moving of the Ghostbusters movie to like 2021. So that annoyed me thoroughly. I could have any other movie that was moved. That was probably the one I was most excited about this summer, was to check it out, because I do like Ghostbusters quite a bit. And I liked. And here's the thing: is like people shit on the all-female remake. I really liked it. So, and I know it's not like canon with the typical Ghostbusters movie, but I just thought it was. I thought they took a chance on it, and I liked the ghosts. I thought the ghosts were great.
Yeah. I mean, the blue lighting thing was interesting, but I actually thought it was a little too jarring. Like, it even sometimes made it hard to look at.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I did like the designs of the ghost. I was actually just talking about this. It's not the most like memorable movie. It's actually pretty forgettable once you stop. But it was fine. It's not people thought of it as like fucking the biggest, like the Holocaust of films, and like it ruined my childhood, which is the most obnoxious thing. But it was fine. Like, I thought Chris Hemsworth was fucking good in it. I thought Kate McKinnon was really good.
Yeah, no, I think Kate McKinnon is great, and like,
yeah, she's great.
I liked her character. I even like Melissa McCarthy, and I'm not a huge fan of hers. Kristen Wiig was great. I even like the bad guy, because even the bad guy was likable, like the Roland annoying guy at the hotel. Yes. I was like, all right, I kind of think you're kind of funny, actually. You're a prick, but that's okay. I like you. I don't know. People shit on that movie, and I was like, it's not as bad as you're making it out to be. And at the time, nobody was getting any other Ghostbuster movies, so I was like, well, shit, we're not going to get anything else, and Bill Murray's on a board, and nobody can agree on this. And
see, here's the thing, Derek. We don't hate women, so we were going to give it a chance.
Yeah, that's true.
But,
here on Going Commando, we don't hate women.
No, we try.
We like them a lot. So
we think they're valuable members of the human race.
That's right.
So my last thing on this, and then we can talk about what you want to talk about, is just that I am excited for the new one. I thought the trailer was really interesting. I thought it was really felt like an Amblin movie. Felt like a Spielberg movie. The way the trailer was made. I like Paul Rudd, and I think it could be good. But watching the documentary, I was like, we don't need a sequel. Like, that's my takeaway was like, unless you were gonna do like a sequel right away, like like a Ghostbusters 3, like 4 or 5 years after Part 2, like you're not gonna find a more. I mean, Hollywood has managed to do miracles and remakes that are worthwhile, but Ghostbusters is people hate Ghostbusters 2. And Ghostbusters 2 is still a good movie. I think it's still a good movie, but people hate it. So I think because the first one is so beloved that anything after that is just maybe going to disappoint. And I felt like, it didn't need like a sequel. That's why I thought like a reimagining or a reboot might have been like, okay, well, let's just do that. But at this day and age, I'm at the age now where like I say never, and I'll be like, whatever, I'll give it a shot. But at the end of the day, like, if because I think I mentioned before, there was a rumor a long time ago that they were going to do Ghostbusters 3, but that it was going to be Chris Farley, Chris Rock, I forget the 4 that they had chosen, but basically a 90s SNL like thing. And I was like, oh, that's cool, but it never came to be. But that might have been the only way I would have said it was acceptable.
Yeah, and then there was other variations too of like in Future State after Paul Feig's one. They talked about doing like an all-male one, like a multiverse situation where it was going to be like Chris Helmsworth and Jonah Hill and a couple other, and Fat Jonah Hill. I just want to clarify that. Fat Jonah Hill, not skinny Jonah Hill, but back when Jonah Hill was heavier. I don't know what it is.
That's what I call him, that's skinny.
I don't know what happens when people, when heavier comedians lose a lot of weight, they tend to be less funny. I don't know what it is.
I don't know, man. Jonah Hill, he's not like at his heaviest, but he's not like I guess he's pretty heavy in in Wolf of Wall Street, but that's still like the.
No, he dropped a ton of weight though when he was in Maniac, like in that movie. But now he's like doing more serious things. You don't see him in 2023 Jump Street, you know.
I think he bounces back.
Yeah, no, he does. I actually do like Jonah Hill as an actor. It's just an observation that I made. Like, tend to be that seems to be when like people like lose a lot of weight, they tend to be, I don't know, just like comedian wise. Like I think it's just a level of like self-deprecating humor that kind of makes you a little bit funnier. And like when you don't have that piece of it anymore, kind of, I don't want to say you lose like your comic edge, but you just lose an element of your comedy. Just an observation, but I still like Jonah Hill anyways. I think he's a pretty good actor. I liked him in Wolf of Wall Street. I don't know how he is as a person, but he can be
real quick, I do have to point this out. I saw San Diego Comic-Con a few years ago. Jonah Hill and Seth Rogen walked past me. We were downtown at a theater seeing a screening of something, and they walked past us, and they are so much shorter. Seth Rogen at max has to be like 5'7", 5'8". Jonah Hill must be like 5'5".
Wow.
I was so shocked. I was like, what? I was like, and they were as far. If I put my elbow like this, I would have touched them.
I was amazed Seth Rogen is being tall. Jonah Hill, no way. Like, he's short to James Franco, and that says a lot. Like, and James Franco does not strike me as a tall drink of water. But that being said,
it's always surprising when you see celebrities in person.
It is always a little surprising when you see people in person. And you know, I did watch something this week, and I totally slipped my fucking mind what I was even gonna bring up. No, you're fine. I did finish my Quentin Tarantino marathon of movies. So nice. I did watch them all, which was great. I saved Reservoir Dogs for last. But that was good. But there was something. Oh, you know what I watched? I watched a movie that shout out to Mike for recommending a movie called Donkey Punch. So it's a suspenseful mystery. Now I know that's exactly what he said that's what he said. Hey, you ever his wife actually texted me and said, "Hey, Derek, have you ever seen the movie Donkey Punch?" And I said, "I feel like this is a very loaded question." And I was like, he's like, they said it's a spring break movie, and I'm like, oh, okay, I know what you're talking about, Donkey Punch. But I hadn't seen it, so I did watch it last night, and it wasn't bad. It gave me like a little bit of a feel of like a Dead Calm type scenario on the open water, but it wasn't bad. It was big. Tried something new. That's all I'm saying. Nice. It definitely was not what you would envision a movie called
Donkey Punch. Yeah,
Donkey Punch to be. So
it's like a thriller.
It was like a thriller in the water, and girl dies, and they're trying to cover it up, and then there's witnesses. You know, frat boys killing preppy sorority girls on the international waters. You know, good times. Good times. But you know what? It wasn't there. Aliens were not there, and that was the subject of our topic tonight. Was alien movies. So, which I thought was pretty fitting, being like a week or two ago, right? It was about 2 weeks ago. It was National Alien Day.
That's right.
And a couple days ago was Star Wars Day. Fuck. You know, I just say for the record, I hate it when people say, "May the Fourth be with you." Well, you know what? Fuck you. All right, I'm not gonna say it back to you. I'm gonna say fuck you, and you as well. Okay, it is gotten so annoying everywhere you go. Fourth be with you. May the fourth. You know what? Live on and prosper, motherfuckers.
I'm down with that.
That's
Derek. For the listeners, Derek is throwing very interesting hand gestures.
I gave the Vulcan, live long and prosper, and then I also gave the bird of freedom, the bird of freedom on that. It just irks me. But that being said, it's been a space week for a couple weeks now.
Yeah, it's true. Yes. Yeah, I've not had anybody actually say that to me, and I probably would be like, "What the fuck? Are you 10?"
Well, I heard it all day.
Yeah.
If you know the line of work I'm in, you know why.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're a male prostitute.
I'm a
That's
male
right.
prostitute.
That's right. I also, by the way, I said this before. I totally thought on the same day of May the 4th be with you was Cinco de Mayo, so I was one day off of Cinco de Mayo too. So I was totally fucked the next day when everybody was like, "Happy Cinco de Mayo." And I'm like, "You guys don't even know what day it is."
And that's alien related, right?
Yeah. Well, depending on what right wing or left wing you fall on, I guess you could say that.
At least, Tank, you get to say that, so that's fine.
Funny story. My
I get to
my
say
son, we did a Zoom call tonight with my wife's like 88-year-old grandfather, and we're online. My son goes in, and we were talking about some type of like TV show. Oh, we talked about my dog. My dog is a big fan of watching prison shows. She gets really mad if I don't put it on lockup when I'm doing stuff. She barks if I don't put it on lockup. And he's like, yeah. He's like, she likes watching lockup, and she likes watching the show about keeping Mexicans out of the border. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. You know, what he's talking about is Border Patrol. Like, there's a Border Patrol show. They catch like drug dealers. Like, but I was like, to the 80-year grandfather, he's deaf, so he didn't hear shit. He didn't hear shit, but I heard it. And I was like, what he's referring to, just to let you know, I know we live in Texas, and but like, he's just talking about Border Patrol. That's what he's talking about. Like, I was like, man, like, don't, God, that's terrible. Gotta go truck. Will probably just should monitor what my child watches. But
before I let y'all go on a rant, I watched 2 alien movies in preparation for this. I watched Signs, and I watched Close Encounters. Two separate, different alien type movies. I got to say, I always loved Signs. There's something about it this time, I guess, watching it as I'm older, didn't like it as much. It was really interesting. Like, it was interesting. Like, I think I was more annoyed by, and this is going to sound snobby, and I'm not snobby at all, I promise. But like the camera angles, the way they focused on the head a lot, like there was a lot of headshots, and it didn't really mean anything to me. I don't know. But I watched Close Encounters, and that movie, I love it. And like, I hadn't seen that movie since I was probably like 12 or 13. And the whole time I'm just thinking about what these aliens look like. And I'm so fucking happy at the end, that big old payoff when they show the aliens. Yep. And more so, the way they communicate, me being a musician, I thought it was like, that was probably my favorite part, was like the communication scene and the whole fucking synthwave sound. It was just beautiful. Anyway, just wanted to get that off my chest.
No, solid movies.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, man.
Oh, I was going to say, no, it's funny because I think
that was it. Touch on.
I feel like Close Encounters is one of those movies that has been a little lost generationally, because it was a huge, I mean, in the 80s and, even into the 90s, that was a touchstone movie. It was a movie everybody knew, everybody had seen. Richard Dreyfuss's performance in it is incredible. I mean, the movie's is great. Great ending. One of those staple Amblin films. But I think in the years since, in the last couple of decades, I don't think it's helped. Not that it hasn't held up artistically. I don't think it's held people's attention or their imagination like it used to, or that I feel it deserves.
Right.
But it's one of those movies that's like, if you've never seen it, it's a class. It needs to be seen.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love Close Encounters. It's one of my favorite alien movies growing up as a kid. I was just making all those mashed potato mountains mashed potatoes when I was a kid. Science, I never really got into it. I know a lot of people, I hear from a lot of people like, wow, Science really scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. Those aliens were so freaky. I just, that was a movie, coming off The Sixth Sense. To me, it kind of bored me. It wasn't the type of alien movie that I was really into. I also watch it now, and I'm like, does Mel Gibson really dislike them because they're aliens, or are they perhaps just like he doesn't believe that their alien race was annihilated? I don't know. Like, is it some anti-Semitic stuff going on with them?
The movie makes look, and this is well documented, but like, as you watch the movie, it's fun. In fact, there's some really when they play like the video of the kid's birthday party, and the alien walks by in the background, just
Brazilian party scene.
Yeah, like that's a great scene. It's pretty like, oh shit, that makes you jump and stuff, and the performances are really good. when the fuck would aliens come to a planet that's like 85% the thing that can kill them? Like, what the fuck? And also, how does water?
I actually never thought of that until you just said it. But
Really?
that makes total sense. I don't know, because I just found that like it's like the idea in like that the human I think it's like War of the Worlds, right? Like the flu is like the killer of.
But see, that actually makes sense. That makes sense because they would have no antibodies for our germs, for our, like that makes sense. But everything that's living has to have like it's also like it makes no sense scientifically. Living things that like breathe and contain water, it has to. So it makes no sense. The movie's fucking stupid. But
these guys maybe they're dehydrated like a banana.
Maybe
I don't know.
That's why they're all like.
And then the comedic humor in it, like it was just really bad timing. Like it never like it was just like was that absolutely necessary right there? Just from all this felt misplaced, and it felt like it was supposed to be taken as a serious movie, and then like with these one-liners in there, it got pretty annoying.
Yes.
And Ted, I'm surprised that you actually haven't brought up the one alien movie that fits perfectly in here, which is They Live.
Well,
this is a prime real estate for you to talk about that.
It's a sore subject, and it's funny because I'm actually on a Reddit post right now, and I'm looking up They Live.
It's just so funny because I was going to bring that movie up tonight.
Now there you go. Great segue. It's just a plan.
It's probably my favorite alien movie ever made.
Really?
Beating Aliens, beating Alien, maybe not beating Predator, but in the same ballpark. Yeah, I mean, who the fuck doesn't love Alien and Aliens? The first two films are perfect. But as far as like movies I enjoy for whatever reason, They Live it's just one of those movies. I mean, first off, I have a shrine to Roddy Piper up there. I love Roddy. I love John Carpenter. It just, it's got like an 18-minute alley fight scene. Like, what's not to love about it? Like, his name is John Nada. Like, it's like.
That's a movie. See, that's a movie that needs a continuation.
I said, because, dude, there's so much of thought. Like, you can build so much of that. There's so much that was left unsaid. Oh, let's not even. We should honestly have a whole episode where we talk about They Live. Because I could talk about it for 2 hours. We could talk about it for longer than the movie is actually a movie. But
we should do that. We should just play it in the background and see which finishes first. The movie or our podcast.
Our podcast,
I reckon that the movie will finish first. Yeah.
What about you, Derek? What's some of your favorite alien films?
That's tough, really. I thought about this really hard because I me, I don't normally put parameters around films. Like if it's Alien, like so. I think I kind of bucket things into into two categories. There's like alien movies that take place in outer space. With aliens.
Yep.
And then there's also like kind of the invasion movies of kind of like aliens on Earth.
Yes.
That you're dealing with. So I would say, my favorite movie growing up was Invaders of Mars. Invaders from Mars.
I love that movie, yeah.
That was a great movie when I was a kid. Karen Black, like the little kid in town, knows everybody, goes on the field trip. Yep. And he knows everybody's turned into an alien or has been turned. And James Cameron is in it. And nobody believes him except for like the one teacher, and he's got to like prove it to them. I always, as a kid, like that movie always creeped me out. Another movie I really liked too was Puppet Masters, which is not a very common movie, but it's about the alien creature that connects to your back, and it's like manipulates you through your. Like goes through into your spine,
nervous system,
and yeah, basically like you're the human puppet, which is in that as well. I think that for me, like I was a big fan of like the classic like some of the '80s movies. Obviously, Aliens is up there. I like a majority of the Aliens movies. For me, actually, it goes 2, 1, 4.
I agree with that.
I skip over 3.
That's actually pretty much. I mean, Aliens is a more fun movie than Alien. There's something just about that first Alien I love, but there's just so much about Aliens that is just fucking unbelievable. But yeah, I think here's my thing. So Jeunet, Jean-Pierre Jeunet, who did Part 4, interesting guy to do it. I like all the weird shit they did with Aliens 4, with like the kind of cloning Ripley, and she's like got alien DNA in her, and like the whole like baby humanoid alien that comes out. I do think it's one of those movies that's like, and he's a great. I mean, that's the guy. The guy directed fucking Amelie, so it's a very weird pairing. But the first half of that movie is fucking perfect. The whole like intergalactic kind of like mercenary team with like
Ron Perlman
and then the guy who's in the Amelie and all his films, that weird looking French dude.
The African American guy with the dreads who's been in a few different movies. Why do I think he was in Predator too? Now I'm gonna have to look it up. But I really like the movie. A lot of people crap on that, but I think it's great. Like Winona Ryder as the synthetic, versus like having like the classic like Bishop. Where I kind of draw the line is I was not a huge fan of like Prometheus and Covenant. In those movies. Well, I actually like Prometheus more than I did Covenant. I was so annoyed when Covenant came out. But yeah, I think those are movies as well. Like I think if I'm talking about like movies that are kind of more like intergalactic or like interplanetary, like I love The Fifth Element. That's a great movie. It's got aliens in it, so I mean, kind of like I kind of lump it into that category. But kind of not when I was thinking about this topic, like in like doing aliens, I was kind of thinking of the latter of like more the alien, human versus alien type of
like element. Aliens come to to Earth kind of movies. You mean?
Yeah,
alien invasion movies.
Yeah.
I will say this about The Fifth Element. My original review of it was just the line when when it first came out was that only a French action movie would have the ultimate weapon be love. And that was how I like to sum up Fifth Element. That and the crazy ass Gary Oldman performance. But so yeah, I did the same thing. I kind of think of it like I think of like two kinds of aliens. One is you have the sort of gray man / little green men from Mars kind of aliens, like the Mars Attacks aliens, or and then to a more realistic degree, in Close Encounters kind of aliens. Then the other end, I see it more of like aliens ripoff movies, which is a whole subgenre I love. In fact, some of my favorite. So there is this whole subgenre of movies that came out, whether it's like Galaxy of Terror, which has an incredible cast, including Sid Haig and Freddy Krueger himself, and also it's Joni from fucking Happy Days, Joni Cunningham, and my favorite Martian, Ray. What's his name? Ray. Forget his name, but it's actually a really good movie. It's funny because it's well known. Galaxy Terror is known for having this really. First, it's known for being an Aliens ripoff and having a very cheesy movie poster. But first off, James Cameron was the art director on it, and like it's actually a fucking good movie. It's got weird elements to it and some things where you're like, wow, this is so clearly ripping off Aliens with all the set design. But it's actually a fucking good movie. It's it's a well constructed movie. There's there's Inseminoid, which Derek, if you've never seen, I feel like is a movie right up your alley. Which is basically, instead of chest burster aliens, it's inseminating. It's basically like alien rape. It's like these aliens like impregnate women with their like alien spore, and that movie's bananas. It's not a good movie at all. It's got some pretty crazy special effects and creature makeup and puppets and stuff, but it's not necessarily a great movie, but it's worth a watch. One of my favorites though is this movie Creature, which if you grew up in the 80s and went to VHS stores, the cover. The cover is very memorable, and it's definitely one of the most obvious alien ripoff makeups of all time. I mean, the head looks looks like a manta ray, or not like an eel. But like when you actually see the body, it's like pretty much identical to a xenomorph. But it's actually, like I said, it's a good movie. It's got Klaus Kinski in it. And it's like I said, it's actually a pretty well-made movie. But what's really fascinating about it is, a few years ago I learned that the guy who directed Creature was going to make afterwards was actually going to make a movie called Dead Star, which he was actually working with H.R. Giger on, and it was basically like Hellraiser in space. Oh. So before Event Horizon, he wanted to make this sort of like satanic, demonic presence, but in space. With Giger, like he and Giger worked design. He's actually the director's actually a pretty good artist and could draw in a very Giger-esque manner. But you should look it up. Like they have like some production stuff, like some production drawings and stuff. But it looked creepy as fuck. And like they have like Satan is like this Satan, like just imagine H.R. Giger drawing the devil. Amazing. So and it looked so cool, but it never got made. And it's got to be in one of my top three, like, damn, I wish this movie would have been made kind of scenarios. In fact, I feel like it deserves I don't think there's enough of the movie to
put a release or
in fact, fuck that. They should make a documentary. Now I'm saying they should fucking actually make it. Make this movie. I will see this movie, but
make it now. Listening.
But
like and subscribe and then make it. You know, a movie always really I really liked a lot growing up, and it always creeped me out was Fire in the Sky.
Yeah, that movie's fun. Yes, it's one of It's abduction movies are like even another whole like sort of.
They are, and I normally don't include them. I didn't think about it at first, like honestly, but when I was like recounting my brain before the podcast, I was like, what are the alien movies that like I truly like stick out in my mind, and that's one of them. Like even if it's an alien abduction movie, I always hear about the recountings of like alien abduction, but like visually the way that movie was done was just blew my mind. Like it was just creepy. I mean, if anything is going to terrify you about aliens abducting you, like that movie is going to take the cake, hands down on fucking freaking you out.
For real. No, it's very. And the thing is, it's a concept that never scared me. As far as like, you're being abducted by aliens. I'm like, who gives a shit? Like I'm like at the time, like it'd be interesting. Like I don't know if you want probes in your ass. It depends on what tickles your fancy. But yeah, that movie made it scary. There was Fire in the Sky, and then there was another one with Mila Jovovich. It's like something 3. I guess it was like the name of the movie is something to do with like the different levels of alien abduction, and like at the one where you're actually like full. Anyways, it sounds stupid, but I remember watching it. The Fourth Kind. It's actually a good movie. It's actually a pretty intense movie. Even though I've
seen that.
It has Mila Jovovich.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. I watched it on a whim.
It's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty creepy. That's the one where she's like she interviews people, right? Yeah. She's a therapist. Okay. Yeah, and she has a video recording. Okay, yeah. That one's pretty trippy.
Yeah, it's got Elias Koteas in it as well.
Yes, Elias Koteas, exactly. Yep.
Will Patton.
The thing is, like, I mean, Fire in the Sky is probably the better of the two movies, but it has that kind of same overall vibe or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Like, I think that's to your point. I think abduction movies are a whole nother animal. Every time I think alien movies, I do think of like the man versus alien movie. The one that does come to mind, and it's totally not it's the same thing, is I always think of Enemy Mine with
I love Enemy Mine.
Dennis Quaid and Lou Gossett Jr. as the.
I love the Lou Gossett makeup in that movie.
Yeah, he's the female alien, which is super funny. Not really a female alien, but I don't know his species.
Exactly. Well, it's like he's like Is he the female or are they like asexual? I can't remember.
I think they're asexual beings.
They self-reproduce, whatever.
Yeah.
I forget there's a medical term for that. But do you remember Alien Nation?
Yes, we talked about that before. The TV show with James Caan. Yeah,
it was a movie and then a TV show.
Yes.
But I remember being like really they drank milk or I forget.
The kids went to high school. It was like 90210 with aliens.
Yeah.
And like people were they were divided. There was a very big like class system.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, it was like this. It was basically aliens came here Earth and that they stayed here. They ended up like assimilating to our culture, but there's this element of racism. Very similar to lots of like that movie Bright kind of did the same thing with humans and orcs and like that kind of thing. But but it was like really interesting. Like I thought the movie was good. I actually really liked the TV show.
Yeah, me too.
But that was interesting. I have to say one of my favorite alien, specifically like alien invasion movies, is Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The Fitzy's one is great, but as we even just talked about it recently, talking about the triumvirate of tall, skinny weirdos. But goddamn, what a perfect movie! The 1970s Invasion of the Body Snatchers is so fucking good. It's so genuinely creepy, and again, it builds that atmosphere of terror and paranoia, and like you don't know who to trust, and you can't escape because they're fucking everywhere, and like that helplessness of like trying to delay the inevitably you're gonna get I don't know if
it is weird, and it's actually like oddly so it's really funny. It's kind of like, to me, that movie is very oddly poetic to the time that we live in now. Not to say that like people are aliens, but I think more just with everything being quarantined. When you go in public, I had this conversation tonight. Like you don't know, like the person that's standing next to you, like you don't know if they are like they call like silent carrier of illness. And like, so it's kind of weird. It's kind of like this, not an invasion of the body snatcher scenario, but you're obviously very cautious, like when you walk out of your house. And I always, it kind of reminds me of the scene at the very end of the movie where she's like kind of walking through and like kind of going with the motions, but like sees her friend like, hey, like quarantine's over. And he's like,
that's my favorite.
So apparently, funny story. My wife's not a big horror movie fan at all, but she does know some things. And so apparently, when I was sleeping like a couple nights ago, apparently I made in my sleep, I just like made this sound that sounded like that Donald Sutherland character at the end of the movie. I was like, oh, like in my sleep, and I went back to bed, like scared the shit out of everybody in my house, and then haven't been able to replicate it. So apparently I was just channeling my inner body snatcher at the end of the day. But that is, to your point, that is practically a near perfect movie. I would actually even defend it over The Thing,
which was going to come up. I was waiting for that to come up.
Yeah. I was actually trying to wait to delay to the end to bring it up, because I feel like that's always a go-to for like alien movies.
Yeah.
But I think
so.
The other thing too, like that, obviously I think has to be brought up, is The Blob.
Yeah,
The Blob is a perfect alien movie, because that is I will say that in the 1980s version, like the continuation or remake, whatever you want to call it, it was a man-made. But in the original Blob, that was from outer space.
Yep.
Like they find it in the Arctic, right? Like in the original, like 1950s. Is that where they find it? I feel like they find it on ice or something like that.
I don't know. It's still a comet. I know it still comes down from a comet. But
it comes out from a comet. Whereas they just changed that in the 80s, where it came down from like a space. It came from space. But I was classify The Blob as an alien movie.
Well, the thing is that, and that's what's funny, because I'm glad you brought that up, because I've said for years, like, I hate these sort of like humanoid bipedal versions of aliens, because if you think of life on another planet, life, we are all bipedal here. We're all humanoids here, for the most part. But that doesn't mean, because that's the way that life evolved on our planet, because of conditions and circumstance and all those factors that play into it. But, life on another planet, maybe life looks like fucking giant jellyfish, or they take forms that we don't see as what we would normally consider life. That's why The Blob is so interesting, because it's almost like a giant, like, protozoa, giant enzyme, and that's more interesting to me than like, I'm another fucking, I look like an insect, like fuck that.
Well, I mean, that's what I really liked about, and we said this before, I talked about before on shows, like people shit at the movie Slither, but like that's what I really liked about that movie too, is because that thing starts off just in like this gelatinous orb, and it's just a little being with a stinger, little bubble, and shoots into Michael Rooker's chest, and then next thing you know, like he's morphing and learning. To your point, like space is a dirty, voidless entity. So I could imagine the shit that comes out of space like is probably not great.
No, and that's the thing is there's did you ever see the movie Life?
Yes,
a lot of people liked it. I actually really liked it. I thought the alien life form there is very similar too. It's not like a normal, how we would see it, something like a creature. And I thought it was I actually really liked the movie Life. And again, people kind of shit all over it, but I actually really liked it. Another movie real quick, if I can bring it up, that I really loved, and I thought one, the aliens were very unique. And it was actually like a very interesting movie, was Arrival.
Great movie.
I need to actually rewatch it. A great cast. Really
You're
interesting
talking
movie.
about Arrival with Amy Adams and not the Arrival with Charlie Sheen, right?
No, but that's so. Wait, is Charlie Sheen in the other? Because I know there's like Contact. Wait, didn't I have Charlie Sheen? No, who's in Contact?
No, Contact was Jodie Foster.
But it's Jodie Foster, somebody else, isn't it? Let me see.
All right.
We have the internet here.
So the Arrival is the one with Charlie Sheen.
Yes. Okay. That's actually pretty. I thought that was a pretty good movie.
No, that was good too. I was just, but to your point, I think you were referring to the other one.
But yes, the new one, that's 2000.
Yeah.
Whatever, 18, 19, probably 18. I thought that movie was really good. And one thing again I loved about it is that the aliens, like even the way we can figure out how they communicate, and like it's just really fun. I'm like, that's what I kind of would assume life from another planet would be more like. And again, very ominous, but a very like interesting twist to the end and stuff. But yeah, that's one of those films I feel like did something new with the idea of alien life forms.
What was the other one too? And I'm blanking on the name, but it was with Natalie Portman.
Annihilation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, that was another kind of, I guess you would call it like an alien movie. Like it's weird. Yeah. I mean, it kind of is absorbing the area and mutating it around. But I think that would also be the color.
I mean, that book is supposed to be fantastic. It's the guy that directed I'm blanking on the name. Also Natalie Portman, and it's about like the guy who invents the artificial life. Poe Dameron and Oscar Isaac. Isaac, and he plays like the scientist who creates, and like it's not Natalie Portman. I'm sorry, it's not Natalie Portman. The girl just looks just like Natalie Portman to me.
Yeah, it's like Ex Machina, right?
Yeah, Ex Machina. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, so like same director and stuff, but I really liked. I liked Annihilation, but I've heard the book is unbelievable.
Way better.
But there was another movie I wanted to fucking talk about. I can't remember. Well, one thing I want to bring up, because I actually have a postcard over my desk. It's one of the weirdest fucking movies, alien movies ever made. One of the weirder, which is saying a lot, but one of the weirder early 80s movies. Have you seen Extra?
Yes, like a very, very long time ago, and I have not seen it since.
So yeah, it's it's fucking hard to follow, but it's like this British, it's a British produced film, and it's got a bunch of like no-name actors. First off, it opens with a woman giving birth to a full-grown man. It has
that's right.
It's got like toys that kind of like, it's a weird fucking movie, but the makeup design of the extra creature, because it's basically like a dude on his back, like basically a dude in a crab walk stance, but so it's a really interesting makeup, really memorable makeup, really interesting. It's a fucking weird movie, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, if I remember right, he gets abducted or he goes missing and he comes back and he doesn't remember anything until he realizes that he's an alien. He's an alien, and then he starts trying to take control of his son.
Yeah, because his son is part alien. Yeah, and then exactly. So it's
it's funny too, because this was actually on a list of I was watching a What Culture today on YouTube, and it was a list of top 10 sci-fi movies that make you go like, what the fuck? Or like people don't understand, and this was on there, and that's what it reminded me of. And it was at the top too. towards like two or three.
I remember seeing it. I may or may not have been not sober when I saw it the first time. In my
That's probably
20s.
the best way to watch that movie because you probably understand it more, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. It is, it's definitely. And the thing is, it's one of those movies. It's goofy, but dude, it's actually like it's a pretty interesting movie. Now, apparently, there are like a bunch of sequels made that aren't nearly as charming.
Oh, there's two.
There's two, yeah. But they're like with like really bad CGI and made for practically no money, but the same director. But I haven't seen the two sequels, but they didn't look good. But the first was very charming. Definitely a product of the early 80s. The director is this weird-looking British dude, and like he seems like a pretty intense dude to begin with. So I'm like, okay, this makes sense. But yeah, the sequels look like dog shit. So, but maybe they're good. I don't know. I haven't seen them. I shouldn't judge. But
and then the last thing I want to bring up was is a great alien invasion movie. It has bounty hunters in it, and we talked about before is Critters.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yes.
Of course.
Good call. I can't believe
that's what I was gonna say. Like I'm looking up Extra, like the face of the aliens from Extra kind of remind me of the Critters, like a little bit. It looks like it'd be from the same kind of like era.
If you shave down a critter, that's probably what it would.
Exactly, a hairless critter.
hairless critter.
A critter.
Yeah, that was always what I always loved about Critters is like not necessarily just the critters. I always loved the intergalactic bounty hunters. And I love seeing it. It's actually, I think it's in the second one where the bounty hunter like comes in because they're faceless. They morph into whatever and morphs into the woman that's in the Playboy.
Yeah.
And has to pull literally has to staple.
Dude, I was really into her when I was a kid.
How could you not be? That's
I know.
what I would.
Her
I
that
would
black
say.
leather space outfit thing. Yeah.
That's Critters giving everybody the feels since 1980. Yep. But yeah, that to me is always that's always stuck out to me as well as a really good like alien movie. And Critters are just ruthless little, vermin.
Yeah, the thing is, the movies were fun. I mean, those movies were great. They were gory. They had creature effects. They were funny and silly. They usually had kid protagonists, which when you're a kid is pretty. You like seeing kids your own age sort of being involved in those films. The giant like critter balls and stuff like this are great. I mean, if you don't like critters, man, you just don't like fun.
Yeah,
that's
very true.
I can't believe it didn't get brought up on this podcast because I think it's probably the most talked about movie on this podcast. But it's Night of the Creeps.
It's funny when I was mentioning Critters and you were talking about very unique aliens. Yeah, that's totally an alien invader movie. I don't know which was weirder, the slugs or the actual like alien from the beginning of the movie with his naked tiny alien butt. It's giving the finger.
It's so funny because you said the alien. So the aliens because they have like take on multiple. One of the aliens in Seminoids literally looks like a little penis, but it actually looks a lot like the aliens in Night of the Creeps too. That sort of weird fleshy, anyways. But yes, I figured we needed to bring it up because it is sort of like
it is very much an alien movie, and it's a great call. Alien invader movie. Movies I will not talk about on this podcast are Men in Black. So that's one.
No, Men in Black. No Independence Day. Sorry, I know people love that movie. I'm not one of those people.
I like Jeff Goldblum, just not that much.
Yeah, I love Jeff Goldblum. What are some of the other ones we won't talk about? I'm sure there's many. Yeah, I will say though, Men in Black. The first one I like, but they get worse after that. But Jesus Christ.
Actually, I will say I really like the third Men in Black with Jermaine Clement as the guy that was being kept on the moon.
I did not see that. I did not see that.
Oh.
I just realized I didn't see it. I didn't see the new one either, the international one.
It was bad either, but honestly, like the third one, it was time travel. and Jermaine Clement was a bad guy, and he just plays a really good bad guy. And
I love. I mean, Jermaine Clement's is fucking
yeah.
He's,
and his hand is a spider, so it's kind of like he's got spiders that live in him. So it's kind of cool.
That's creepy. But yeah, I will say though, people can. You want to talk about Men in Black, say whatever you will, but Vincent D'Onofrio was fucking bad as fuck in that movie.
Oh yeah. Edgar suit. I know. It's funny. We had this in a meeting today. They were saying something about exterminators, and I'm like, yeah, the two exterminators. Anytime somebody says exterminator, the first two things that come to mind are Edgar from Men in Black in the Edgar suit.
John Candy.
And then and John Goodman is the other one that comes in for arachnophobia.
Oh, John Goodman. That's what I meant.
For arachnophobia.
Sorry.
And mind you, I said that, and nobody got the reference for either one. I was like, you guys need to go. I can't talk to you.
Oh my!
I love John Goodman.
I was like, we'll watch Arachnophobia and watch John Goodman stomp on spiders. It is dumb yet smart.
So I gotta say, I mean, there's a ton. I mean, we can talk about this all day. This movie had Come in Peace, Suburban Commando. Lots of great B movies, but Earth Girls Are Easy. Earth Girls Are Easy. But I feel like there's two I want to just touch on before you go. First off, because one is your background, your Zoom background, which is, I think, the criminally underrated, really hated,
very much so.
Tim Burton's version of the 1950s Topps trading card property of Mars Attacks, which I think is one of the funnest movies of its era. I think at the time, I think people shit all over it. And I think it's.
And if you don't like Mars Attack, you have no sense of humor whatsoever.
I agree.
Period. Like, just hang up your head and go watch period pieces. Like, you have no sense of comedy whatsoever. Mars Attack is by far the funniest alien movie ever created in my mind. And I love the aliens in this movie. And it is definitely. I totally agree with you. I totally agree. It's super underrated. It has a great cast.
Dude,
that's the other thing.
Tom Jones is an action star. Jim Brown. I mean, the cast is great, dude.
Yeah, you cannot go wrong with Mars Attack. If you haven't seen Mars Attack, if you're listening, first thing you do, call out of work tomorrow and watch Mars Attack. Enjoy your quarantine day at home.
I think Mars Attack actually I think Mars Attack is. I think because his movies were so beloved, critically and commercially, that the fact that Mars Attacks wasn't a big success critically or commercially, I think kind of really started the downfall of poor Tim Burton. And by poor Tim Burton, I mean kind of fuck that guy. But at the same time, I was such a huge fan of his. I still think Ed Wood is in my top 3 favorite movies ever made. But yeah, I feel like it was I think he thought it was going to be the next big thing, and then it wasn't, and people kind of hated it, and I think they just didn't get it. And I don't normally say, oh, they didn't get it, but I think Mars Attacks is one of those movies where I think people just didn't get it. But I fucking love it.
I think people think, to your point, I think Tim Burton at that time, they were so used to the Tim Burton movie that they watched this movie and were like, this is too different. But it still had that Tim Burton style, and that's what I don't get. But yeah, I totally agree. I think it's completely underrated. It never gets enough credit. Yet it's probably one of the most quotable and imaged things when you talk about Mars. That's Mars Attack. That's the first thing that comes in. So one last movie I wanted to bring up just because I wanted to because I watched it in the last couple of months, and I mean, it's problematic. I think I even brought it up on this one of our podcasts recently. Is fucking the Tom Cruise War of the Worlds. I think that movie's actually really tense. I'm just going to pause you for 1 second and say thank you for not saying Cloverfield, because I was really going to say I don't want to talk about Cloverfield.
Cloverfield's fine. I mean, I would add that in a discussion of giant monster movies. Oh, I can talk about the sequel because the interesting is pretty. What's up? What's that?
It's an alien. It's an alien.
No, I know it's an alien, but I'm saying my natural instinct was talk about it, put it in the same veins as a Godzilla or whatever. But the sequel is pretty interesting. But anyways, people shit all over the Spielberg War of the Worlds. People fucking shit all over Tom Cruise in that movie, and I just don't get it. Yes, there are some minor problems with it, but first off, fucking Tim Robbins as Tim Robbins' small role in the movie he's incredible in it. I think it's actually genuinely terrifying. I think the first 30 minutes of it are perfectly set up the like holy fuck what is happening kind of vibe that would actually happen. Yeah, it doesn't. The kids are kind of like it falls in that sort of unlikable kids who just constantly are getting into trouble or not listening to what they're supposed to be doing. Mad at their dad, family drama bullshit, which I do think detracts from the overall script. I think they could have found a more interesting dynamic than falling into such a cliched, oh, we don't like dad, I'm not going to listen to what he says. I'm going to run around and then cause more problems. But I think I still think it's an enjoyable script. I think the special effects are still amazing. I still think taking that, like the original War of the Worlds and the H.G. Wells, the cover illustrations and of like the pods, like the tripods or whatever. I think how they did it was really great. I think it's a fucking really good movie, and it's weird that people just fucking hate it.
I do know there's a lot of hate for that movie. In fact, yeah, fun story. So I actually saw War of the Worlds at like a press screening before it was released for Paramount. The only time that I've really been to like a pre-screening premiere with the press, and it was at Times Square at one of the Paramount theaters. It was like an AMC, and I saw it there, and I really liked it. But I remember people leaving that theater, and some of the critics that were there were already panning it, and I think part of it is I don't know if it was just they just weren't a fan of like Tom Cruise in the movie, because that was part of it. And I think the other part of it was
the thing is it was right around the time of the Tom Cruise backlash. So it was after the couch thing and so I think mainly it was just people hated Tom Cruise. So which is unfortunate, but
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's a good movie. I think it's grown on me over time. I initially was like, well, and I'm not a huge Tom Cruise fan. I always make that very clear. I think that was around the same time, to your point of the whole couch, Katie Holmes being crazy type thing. I think there's just times, just like Johnny Depp is now, like Tom Cruise was then, it was far less bankable because there's just a lot of crazy stuff going on in people. Yeah. So I think you're the same thing. If you put Johnny Depp in another Tim Burton movie, regardless of how great the movie was, I think it would tank because
people are just tired of it.
People are just tired of it. But it sucks because if it is a really good movie, people tend to crap on it just because their personal feelings of an actor versus the actual merit of the movie. It's definitely worth a watch, and I do think the visuals are really great. To your point, Tim Robbins' character was fantastic in that movie, and it was creepy. Even the last like final scene of the movie where he's like finally getting his son home, he's like carrying the kids, carrying the dog. Like that is a really compelling like scene, like a father trying to get his kid home. So I
think that the plane crash sequence is so fucking amazing in that movie.
I saw that on the Universal tour last time I was on there, actually.
They still have it. Yep.
Yeah, they still have it in the back lot, which is kind of cool.
But yeah, I think Alien films, like, there's so many different ways that you can take it, and then people have done really interesting things with it. Whether it's like something like really interesting and intelligent, something like say Arrival versus fucking Mars Attacks, where it's fun and silly and goofy and over the top. Or big blockbustery type of things, but I think people are so fascinated by the concept of life that isn't human, terrestrial life, that it's something that you can always go to, whether it's like a sci-fi, like a Star Wars kind of aliens, or just your sort of typical sort of gray man type aliens. I think it's always going to be something that's interesting. And it's funny because even when I was making this list, I was like, fuck, I really do like a lot of alien movies, movies about alien life. Like I was like, damn, there's a lot of that. In fact, I think tonight I'm going to rewatch Life. So
hey, there you go. It's not a genre that you associate with a lot of movies. Like you think aliens, you think Alien, but you don't kind of like, to your point, there's so many variations of alien films because they are just another version of like the creature feature. And I think that's what people tend to forget. But when you really start digging in, like we did tonight, there's so many facets of that are like, even you could even really honestly say they're like, even in some like dramatic movies, there's like some like more dramatic, like alien films. There's family friendly alien films, and there's creature features and the whole 9 yards. I think to your point, we talk hours about
Absolutely.
About alien movies, but I think it's just a good reminder that there are some really good alien films out there. And if you're looking for something distracting and off of this planet, this is probably a good welcome change than kind of pandemic movies or apocalyptic movies and things like that. So yeah, I think it was a good topic though for tonight. And it's definitely I'd love to dig in deeper to your point of some of the films that I think we were really like they live. We could really dive deep into on another episode.
Absolutely. It was definitely a topic we could come back to because I'm sure we left off a million movies.
Yeah, and there's two I wanted to bring up that probably aren't too like popular. And again, I always fear that Jimothy is going to haze me for saying them.
It's a legitimate fear.
I liked Evolution and I liked Faculty. Like I think those are just brain dead movies that you just pop on.
I love Evolution. I will never criticize anybody for liking Evolution.
Like David Duchovny,
I was gonna say
the Prince of Aliens.
Dude, David Duchovny is my eternal man crush forever. I fucking love that dude. I think he's so underrated. I think Californication was, it was good, but I think, my problems with it are less. I mean, David Duchovny is always great and everything. Plus, it also had
Orlando Jones, Sean William Scott, Julianne Moore.
The actress of the 90s and early 2000s. Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, yeah.
Well, damn, dude, yeah. That was just on TV.
Had donkey lips from Salute Your Shorts.
It did have donkey lips from Salute Your Shorts.
And it had Ethan Suplee before he got really
Shorts.
thin.
It did.
Yeah, and they were the brothers. My favorite part of that entire movie is where they were grading the papers, and he's like, "And we got a paper here," and it was all about cells. And it started off with, "My uncle lives in a cell. It's 6 by 10."
And I think Faculty had some validity with Robert Patrick being in there, but I still overthink that was a pretty good movie too, as far as like a teen alien movie, if you will.
That was one that went the exact opposite, that they picked Earth because of all the water, which is actually more relevant than science. They needed the water to live. They needed a lot of water. And they probably didn't know about salt water because that probably wasn't a salt water would fuck them up. But yes, like also like the Faculty as well. It is a guilty pleasure. Not even guilty. It's just a pleasure.
Well, awesome. Well, Crisis Averted, and another one in the books, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Dirty Derek and Jimothy James Dean for, again, just lending their expertise in the alien genre. And again, I think you're right, absolutely right. This is something that we do need to revisit again down the line in person. God, I miss like just seeing y'all like in the studio. But hopefully soon. But yeah, no, like as we mentioned at the beginning, we are all now on social media, on Twitter and on Instagram. You can follow us at the non-perverted at Tank Rod Pod. That's TANKRODPOD. And then if you want to chime in on our conversation today, don't forget to use the hashtag Going Commando or Rod Pod and let us know what you think. For Dirty Derek and Jimothy. Oh, Jimothy, Keanu Reeves for Cobra, sold.
I mean, I'll buy Keanu Reeves in anything, so maybe I might like that.
I will throw this out there. I'm sorry. Last thought of the day before we go. I did hear that the writer of John Wick is teaming up with James Wan for a
TV series.
For a sci-fi movie about a like a marshal or a bounty hunter that's in the future, and he becomes like or a lawman in the future, and he becomes an enemy of the state. And the punishment for enemy of the state is they send you back to a time period of their choosing. They give you 3 days to acclimate. to that time period before they send a group of bounty hunters after you in that time period to kill you.
Wow,
Sounds pretty interesting. Okay.
That
I
is
was like,
that
all right,
sounds bomb.
I'm like, it sounds pretty cool. I'm like, if it's a guy
Sold.
if it's anything like John Wick, I'm like, it's John Wick in space. It'd be kind of cool.
Fucking sold on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I want to say this. Thank you again. Not to be redundant there. But yeah, make sure to follow us on Spotify. Subscribe to us and make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Follow us on social media now. And yeah, you know, who did it last time, folks? Was it Derek or Jimothy? Okay, we'll do it. We'll leave it for you, Dirty Derek. Close us out.
So many great things I can say. I guess I will say in a classic Spock. So live long and prosper, people. Live long and like and subscribe on our new Twitter handle and Instagram. Don't make me be the first follower on Instagram because I am.
You were.
I am. I literally was doing it as we start the trend and follow, so I don't look like a loser following my own podcast because that sounds terrible. So yeah. That being said, peace out.
This one's for you, Keanu.
Yes. This one's for you,
Sure.
Roddy Piper.
That's right. Oh, it's always for
Roddy Piper.
Always
Roddy Piper.
always for the Rodster. So.
Oh, the
right.
hot rod. All right. See you on the next one, folks.
Peace.